But I remember a day where we had something called boredom. Y'all remember being bored? No? Maybe? Anyone? See, back in my day, we didn't have a Wi-Fi connection to be worried about. We didn't have Instagram. We didn't have YouTube videos to go watch. If you were waiting in a doctor's office, what did you do? You go to the magazine rack and you find the Highlights magazine. Y'all remember the Highlights magazine? Come on. And if they didn't have the Highlights magazine, or if it was like my doctor's office and you'd been through all of them already, you can only find so many mismatched photos, you know what I mean? They had this big old console TV that was hanging in the corner, and we watched terrible episodes of Days of Our Lives. You remember what I'm talking about? Or if they didn't have any of those, you did the most unthinkable, craziest act ever. You had a conversation with the person sitting next to you. Boredom used to be a thing. Now, it's really easy to get into the mindset that those were the good old days. But I want to caution you with that. Because there's no denying that we are in an incredible time with what technology and everything has done, right? We get more stuff done in less amount of time, and that's incredible. But I will say we did lose something along the way. And what we lost with these little moments of boredom is we actually lost opportunities. See, these little moments of boredom, they used to be opportunities, little moments for prayer, little moments to connect with God, little moments to realize how close God was to us, that he's all around us, little moments to tune our souls into him and draw closer to him, and little moments to get off the hurry drug and go to him. Now, all of these truly are gone. Why? Because they've been replaced by this. Because the second that we feel any inkling of boredom, what do? We pull out our phone. I got to check the email. I got to see what this person's doing. I got to see what Susie's vacation was like. I got to look for new shoes. I got to watch this video. You fill in the blank. Anything we can do to not be bored, we got to do it. There was a survey done by Microsoft, and it revealed that 77% of young adults answered yes when asked, when nothing is occupying my attention, the first thing I do is reach for my phone. 77%. And Comer identifies that pretty much the only time where we can be alone with our thoughts is the shower. But can I just say it's only a matter of time before phones become waterproof, right? And then at that point, I truly believe Jesus is going to say, that's the last straw, I'm coming back. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. But this new normal of hurry, it's robbing us of something that is so incredibly important. If you're taking notes, write this down. It's robbing us of the ability to be present. Present with God, present with other people, present with all that's around us, with the beauty that's around us, present with our own souls. Andrew Sullivan wrote this. I love this quote. He says, there are books to be read, landscapes to be walked, friends to be with, life to be fully lived. This new epidemic of distraction is our civilization's specific weakness. And its threat is not so much to our minds, even as they shape-shift under the pressure, but watch this, the threat is to our souls. At this rate, if the noise does not relent, we might even forget we have any. Did you see what he said? If the noise doesn't die down, if the noise doesn't let up, it's going to put us in a place where we might forget we even have a soul. The noise of the culture that we live in today, the noise of the society that we live in today of hurry and busyness and distraction is making us deaf to the voice of God. And that's the voice we need most in our lives. Remember what Ronald Rolheiser said from last week. He said, we are distracting ourselves into a spiritual oblivion. So how do we combat this? What's a way of Jesus? If we're to follow him and we're to live the way he lived, what's a way that we can What's an action that we can do? What's a spiritual discipline? And if you're not familiar with what a spiritual discipline is, think about it as a holy habit, right? A discipline is something like brushing your teeth. You wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth. You go to bed at night, you brush your teeth. I hope that is a discipline of yours. Well, what's something that you can put in your schedule that's concrete? As we go through this series, we're going to identify a few of those to really help you with busyness and hurry. The first one I want to identify, and we're going to talk about today, is silence and solitude. Silence and solitude. Being able to be alone in silence, both internally and externally, is extremely crucial and important for our souls. External silence is really easy to define, right? External silence, easy to achieve also. We turn off our phones, we turn off the TV, we turn off the radio, we go for a drive in our car with no radio, we go for a walk in the park, right? You can achieve external silence. It's internal silence. That's a whole new beast. Right, it's the ongoing talking that we do with ourselves. Actually, Comer defines it as this. Internal noise is the mental chatter that never shuts up. The running commentary in our heads on everything. The replaying of a lousy conversation with a friend over and over again. Our lustful thoughts for the girl or guy down the street. Our worry. The chipping away at our joy and peace with the hammer of the what ifs. The obsessing over hypothetical scenarios, the role-playing of the future, the idealizing, the dreaming of the perfect life. We deal with these on a regular basis. This internal noise, there is no off switch for that. We have to train ourselves to be able to be in true silence, because it's that kind of silence when we can turn off internal and external that is crucial for our souls. And that's the kind of silence that Jesus did consistently. That's true silence. And solitude's pretty straightforward. Solitude is being alone with God and with your soul. Now, let me say this. Solitude does not mean isolation. There's an important difference between the two. Solitude is engagement. Isolation is escape. Get that? Solitude is something I engage in. Isolation is a retreat that I do to escape. Solitude is safe. Isolation is a dangerous place for us. I've heard it said like this. Solitude is when you open yourself up to God. Isolation is when you put a target on your back for the enemy by closing yourself off to everything. And solitude can sound really lonely, but if we do it correctly, it's actually the exact opposite. It's anything but lonely. Richard Foster, he said this. He said, loneliness is inner emptiness, but solitude is inner fulfillment. In solitude and in quiet time, we're anything but alone, because we can feel our strongest connection with God. See, one of the most common problems with spirituality to this day, if I could just be really real, I've struggled with this even, but one of the biggest problems is that very few people feel safe enough to admit how separated they feel from God. We can't be real with ourselves or with anyone around us for the fear of not living up to par. And when we do this, when we're not close to God, we rarely feel the love, the joy, and the peace that He offers. And so what do? We come to church. We come on a Sunday hoping to get that God hit. That really good feeling, but it's fleeting. Then we don't come back for another 6 to 8 weeks or whatever that, I think that's the national average right now. And then we're back to our normal grind, the 9 to 5. But what if you gave silence and solitude a chance? What if you realized that God hit you can have every single day with an intentional time with Him? See, Jesus made it critical to His schedule. This was so important to Him. In Matthew chapter 3, there's the story of Jesus' baptism. And when He comes out of the water, there was a voice from heaven that said this. It said, "This is my Son, whom I love. With Him I am well pleased." And this is an incredible moment for Jesus, because this is the launching pad for Jesus' ministry. This is what sent Him into the world. This is exciting. This means, hey, he's now got the green light for healing and for miracles and all of these incredible things. This is a great high, right? But I want you to see what he does right after this. The next line in the scripture says, well, then Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted there by the devil. For 40 days and 40 nights, he fasted and became very hungry during that time, and the devil came. So he's got the green light to go do all the amazing things that Jesus did. But he says, hold on just a sec, I'll BRB, right? And he goes off into the wilderness. Like, can you imagine the movie Top Gun? Did anyone see the new Top Gun? They did it right, didn't they? Yes, they did. It's good, but imagine you got Maverick up there, right? He gets the green light for his mission. You got Kenny Loggins coming back with Highway to the Danger Zone, right? Dun, 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 dun. Like, suspense is building up. You're like, I can't wait to see it. He's going to get in the plane. It's going to be action-packed. It's going to be so awesome. And the glass on the plane starts to come down, and he goes, wait, no, time out. I'll be right back. That's not what you would expect at all, right? How anticlimactic, right? That would be terrible. But Jesus, the first thing he did after he gets the green light is he said, I gotta go to the wilderness. And that word wilderness, the Greek word that they use is eremos. And eremos means the desert, a solitary place, a lonely place, a quiet place. And as you read through Scripture, this is amazing because there are many, many times that highlights Jesus' relationship with eremos. This first one is so important because what I want you to see is before he did anything, I got to go to my quiet place. Before I do anything, I got to go spend intentional time with the Father. And it's a really common perception. If you read that story, you talk about how the devil came and tempted him. It's a really common perception to think that, well, isn't that just like the devil? Right before Jesus is going to do all these incredible acts and all the miracles that Jesus did, well, isn't that just like him to come and attack him before he does it? And it's really easy if you think that to think that the wilderness was a place of weakness. But instead, and what I want you to get in your spirit today is that the wilderness was not a place of weakness. It was a place of strength. Jesus was led by the Spirit to the wilderness because it was there that he was most in tune with his spiritual powers. For 40 days and 40 nights, he spent quiet time, solitary prayer with the Father. And that's what it took to take on the devil and come out completely unscathed. That's why over and over again throughout the Gospels, you hear about Jesus going back to eremos, going back to the quiet place. Mark chapter 1, this is it's Jesus' first day on the job as Messiah, right? So it's after the 40 days and 40 nights, and he comes back, and this is like it's a marathon day, right? He gets up, he's up early, he's teaching, he's healing, he's casting out demons, all these things. Like, this is something you would think he must have been extremely exhausted after this. But watch how the scripture picks up. After this day, it says, the next day, very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place. They use that word eremos, where he prayed. So a marathon day, and you would think, well, I did quite a bit yesterday. Maybe I'm not going to set the alarm today. Maybe me and the disciples will go get some brunch, get a quick workout in before we get back to the grind. But that's not what happened. He said, I'm up early while it was still dark. I'm going back to my place. And what I want you to see is that this was the day after his first day. He had just been in the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights. One day back, and he goes, nope, I got to go back. I got to go back to the wilderness. I got to go back to my place. I got to go spend more time with the Father. And what I'm trying to get at with this is that quiet time can't be a one-time thing. It can't be just an occasional thing that we sometimes do. It has to be a spiritual discipline, a holy habit. It has to be in the normal rhythms of our lives. Jesus wasted no time getting back to his place of silence and solitude, because he knew that he couldn't be most effective. He couldn't he couldn't live deliberately on purpose. He would be leaving too much power on the table. And we can't either. This has to be something we build into our normal rhythms. John Knox, he was a famous theologian and a pastor. He was a godly man. He was actually summoned by Mary, the Queen of Scots. And when he was summoned, people warned him. He said, John, listen, she's super dangerous. See, Mary, the Queen of Scots, she had a crazy temper on her. Some would even describe it as a murderous temper. If she didn't hear what she wanted to, or you didn't say what you were supposed to, she was known to murder that person. A little scary, right? And so people would warn him, hey, just be really careful, or maybe you just shouldn't go, right? Just be cautious. But he said something that's so profound. He said, why would I fear 10 minutes with the queen when I've already spent an hour today with my king? Can I just say this is what we all need in this world? With the severity of the culture that we live in today, it's killing our souls. Man, can you imagine the strength that we would have if we did this consistently? Why would I fear going and doing fill in the blank? Because I've already spent time with my king. The same power that raised Christ from the dead, it lives in us. But how do we access that power? When we draw close to him, living a life that's close to the Father. How did Jesus become his strongest? He went back to his quiet place at Ramos. This has to be a spiritual rhythm.
Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, ringing that bell so you never miss a video or a live stream, and give this a share to one of your friends. And remember, we go live every single Sunday. Till next time, pray God's peace.